Good evening, everybody. I'm Isla Berman, the Director of Architecture at CCA, and it's with great pleasure that I'm able to introduce Adriaan Geuze from the Netherlands as our lecturer this evening. I had noted previously in Charles Waldheim's lecture that in 2011 we'll be launching a new graduate program in urban design and landscape, and that a number of our lecturers this year are dedicated to this. And I also might add that our new program will be an interdisciplinary program between urban design and landscape, and it's specifically inspired by practices such as Westgate, the one you're about to see this evening. Adriaan is the founding partner and design director of Westgate, one of the most significant and preeminent landscape and urban design firms in the world, with projects in Copenhagen, London, Moscow, New York, Madrid, Toronto, and Amsterdam. After winning the Rome Prize in 1990, Adriaan and Westgate established a global reputation for their approach to the planning and design of the public environment, integrating culture, urban design, landscape, public space, architecture, and engineering into a new terrain by reinterpreting context as a point of departure. The critical importance of Westgate's earlier projects, such as the Schouwburg Plain in Rotterdam or the Borneo-Sporenburg Master Plan in Amsterdam's waterfront development, which is one of the most highly successful projects on the waterfront in Amsterdam, both completed in the mid-90s, and later projects like Chiswick Park in London and the 2002 Expo exhibition site in Yverdon-les-Bains in Switzerland, the surreal polychrome Dutch landscape of tulips and low-hanging clouds that was inserted into the mountains of Switzerland, gained the firm an international reputation for the intelligent spatial, material, and cultural synthesis of landscape, urban design, and architecture, and the importance of establishing a creative and critical dialogue across these practices. It's perhaps not surprising that the best synthesis of landscape and urbanism might evolve from within the Netherlands, a flat country emerging from swampland where 50% of the polder landscape still remains below sea level, a fragile terrain supporting a population density that's 100 times that of America, and where extreme environmental challenges and the organization and the building of the landscape itself would not only be a precursor to the making of any form of architecture, but would itself become a highly architectural act. This understanding of landscape, through its extreme artifice and fragility, its ability to support and invigorate urban life and culture, and its capacity to directly interact with and mitigate enormous environmental impacts, has certainly influenced Adriaan's and Westgate's evolution. A firm that we could say has probably had the single largest impact on increasing the awareness of the profession of landscape architecture and its importance across the globe. And I will let Adriaan himself explain the importance of the enormous inflatable cows on the cover of his 2008 monograph published by Burkhauser, which is importantly tied to this notion of landscape. Westgate and Adriaan Geuze have received numerous awards for their work, among them the Dutch Maaskant Award, the Rosa Barba First European Landscape Prize, and the Veronica Rudge Green Prize for Urban Design. Adriaan has also been a visiting professor at Harvard University since 1994. He was a professor of architecture at the Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands. He is a board member of the NAI, the Netherlands Architectural Institute, and was the curator of a critically important exhibition, The Flood, in Rotterdam for the second International Architectural Biennale in Rotterdam in 2005, just before the flood that hit in New Orleans. We are extremely fortunate to have Adriaan Geuze here this evening with us. Please join me in welcoming Adriaan.
Good evening. I'm extremely lucky to be here with so many people, and I'm impressed by the school already. I hope I brought the right slides. Actually, I think it's important we do a lot of work in the field of landscape architecture, urban design, We do a lot of installation-related projects. But I think it's interesting to speculate a little bit about the issue which might be the word narrative, which is very odd in architecture because specifically in architecture schools, also a lot of design schools, narrative seems to be almost, old-fashioned, 19th century, Beaux-Arts, and all these kind of things. I strongly believe in narrative. But sometimes it brings nice projects, sometimes it doesn't, but let's try. This summer I visited Padua because I read in a magazine that this is a monastery in Italy, that a strange miracle took place. And in this monastery there are a few courtyards. In one of the courtyards there is a pine, and the pine, and that's really a miraculous situation, is proceeding immense amount of pine cones, and it's almost a sort of constant orgasm, and the monks they started to stagger the pine cones, and bring them all over the courtyard. So this is the strange pine which doesn't stop producing pine cones. And the amount of pine cones, I went there, no, seriously, it is. The strange thing is the sun is on, it is a sort of dry. It has a sort of strange atmosphere of the smell of harsh. I mean, definitely the pine cones, they are dead, but they are filled with seeds. So it is interesting. A lot of pilgrims come because this was in magazines already 4 years ago. A lot of pilgrims, they come to see this miraculous pine event, and you see that there's really tons of pine cones all over the monastery. And people worship. This is the Latin world, of course. Okay. The last weekend I was busy. We designed a garden in Catalonia. This very simple garden. It's in a beautiful landscape in a valley, and far out you can see the Mediterranean, the sea. And part of this garden project is a 4-meter high hexagon wall to be filled with stones from the forest around, which takes an entire life. So the project is about Zen. So the owners of the garden, they have children and a dog, and they go into the forest and they come back with rocks, and then they fill the hexagons. This is what you can do in a life, and it creates beautiful shadows. You might, I don't have good pictures. I was too much drinking and relaxing. But imagine if you sit in this courtyard, you see the landscape through the hexagon. But you can imagine yourself. The interesting of this project is that it is actually a project which is, it is to engage people to find rocks in the forest and to fill the hexagons. And some of it is even artistic. Look at this. It's sort of anthroposophic touch by the owners. No? So this is this arts and crafts, maybe? Okay. I would like to show a bridge which is finished last year. We did at least 4 bridges which were originally designed from the logic of a truss which is torted. And every time we were not able to succeed. So finally, and there were really spectacular bridges. Really spectacular bridges. So finally we did, as a sort of cannibalism, to redesign the same thing, a very simple pedestrian bridge, to demonstrate also because as a designer somehow you feel impotent if you deliver a good design, a beautiful concept and nothing happens. It's a beautiful paper. I can fill lectures. So we decided to make this pedestrian bridge, a very simple bridge with a twist as a sort of, you know, at least once you deliver. I can give a lecture about lost projects. I think that's also nice, but these are all built projects. The bridge was tendered. It was finished as a design. Here you see the maquettes. It spans a water, approximately 50 meter, 60 meter span over the water. And the interesting thing about the bridge is that, and I think that is a design that makes design so interesting, that we are looking for subtleties. So you can easily think that that you do this, but that will not deliver good design. So here we see the bridge is not. It's not square, it is a rectangle, and in the twist, in the middle, it is higher, so construction-wise it even makes sense. It's very efficient, but it's not, the bridge deck is independent from the skin, so the bridge deck is with a little arc, which makes the bridge a little bit more interesting. And our hypothesis of this is that if you bicycle, you go in speed, in the bridge, and you orient yourself on the bridge, then you end, you know, in an angle. So you drive like this. And of course, this was a wrong theory. It didn't work like that. It is built now, but that was the concept. Halfway the bridge was standard, and even this bridge failed. It was 150% of the budget. This was in the golden time when everyone thought to make money, like you know, but doing nothing and demanding a lot of fee. And the contractor he messed up, and we were really about to lose this. Bridge as well, number 5, 4 or 5. And we solved the problem to make the bridge span a little bit less. But we had no time because the tender procedure failed, and then there was all kind of legal problems because you cannot change the design because somebody has the lowest price. And yeah, you have to listen to those people and relate yourself to them. So there was not enough time to redesign the bridge. And finally we had a very interesting coincidence here that we, by shortening the bridge, the whole rotation couldn't be made. Can you imagine? So the bridge rotates, but it stops. And together with the arch of the bridge, that is let's say the second irregularity that made the bridge so sexy, unbelievable. And I think that's very relevant for us if we analyze these kind of projects. You see here the section, so the bridge is very optimistic. It starts like a boy's dream, straight up, and then it rotates, and it, you know, it suffers and tries hard, but it cannot. And then it freezes itself. And the outcome of that is so remarkable. Here you see that we shorten the bridge. It's a unbelievable, lousy architect job, I have to tell. I mean, this is a compromise you cannot do, but we had to do it. Shameless amputation of the bridge. And this is the effect. And this is so unbelievable. I'm always happy if I go there. I often go to see the bridge just to see the bridge which could not rotate. The euphoria of rotation is also based, on the baluster of the balustrade. And we fell in love with the bridge. Then again, we failed because the bridge could not be built for the second time, and the contractor, because he wanted to construct in a very expensive place nearby, because it was already late in the season, they could not make the bridge outside anymore. And then we designed, this was a free design, as a solution from containers, let's say like your school, a hangar, to build a bridge, a temporary building. And the funny thing is that this building was very successful. It was, for me, even more interesting than the bridge itself. And the contractor made a lot of money out of this because they sold this with a lot of profit. So we had amputated bridge, and we failed twice to deliver, and then this was the project actually. The hangar, you see, it is in the Meadowland, and there it's a Belgian contractor. He made a bridge, wonderful people. You see how simple it starts, a bridge, and then the rotation. It looks like almost wrecked. And the painting, it was all done in winter. A lot of engineering to move the bridge into position and to hang it over the water and to open it. Also, the line of the lamps is very nice. I think it is really nice. It's a wonderful bridge. Actually, I'm very happy with the bridge. It's a beautiful design. This is my son, the blue guy. So this winter, the bridge was, because we had a very long winter this year, for 2 months snow. You see that here the bridge is, this is really cool. It is a sort of strange effect. I mean, you cannot understand what is going on. I think this is very important to, my wife, she is an actress. She plays in the theater, and all of her friends are actors, and all my friends were architects. And architects, they have a sort of tendency to create a sort of sublime. They are really eager to create the beauty, the ultime. And actors, they are totally not interested in sublime at all. Okay, in Hollywood they are, but for the rest, they are vulnerable people. They hate perfection. They are looking... my wife, she has a box full of characters, of ticks, thousands of ticks. She collects ticks where people are, not precise or strange or odd. And, the older I grow, and I'm getting old now, I'm more interested and more interested in this imperfection. But it's very complex. You cannot teach it or, exercise it. It is, somehow it is sort of a lottery. It's in the air, or it comes to you or not. You don't see it, you see it. But I think it's very important that you, all of you, that you train yourself in these kind of things. It could be a tool. So here you see the bridge in winter. It is, you know, the bridge is already impotent, but here it is, you know, completely lost in the cold. Nobody is there. Ah, look at this. Okay. This is a project I didn't want to show. It is a garden festival in China, in an old city. And we had a sort of idea about the path of life. You know, a garden festival is a sort of fashion show with landscape architects and artists and architects. And it was no budget. It's more installation-like things. And we had the idea to make the path of life. You know, life is a burden. You cross many rivers. You lose, you win. You know, this thing. Seriously. And Chinese, they have a lot of philosophy and history about it. And the path of life was a sort of 300-meter long path, which is every time, you know, crossing another path, and you need a bridge to climb over it. So if you find the exit, then you have demonstrated as a sort of monumental exercise what life is about. So here we see so it is a bamboo garden. It's only bamboo. That's the only thing which grows there. So it is very, very helpful for us to use that material. The entrance, like everywhere in China, we have some Chinese colleagues, so they helped us a lot. But in China, buildings, important buildings, they have an entrance icon, and these are these drums, and for every Chinese person, they tell the story. Entrance. This is the entrance. So if you see this, you automatically walks inside. So we took those as well. This is not a very bright idea, but I think it's very much, you know, dealing with the human culture, with you know, understanding, make things simple, and then you enter the path of life, and you see many bridges. We designed a bridge which could fit in the budget. We design half a bridge, and then we put them together from concrete. We studied arches. There's a lot of theory in China about the arch and the parabolic shape. Is this the perfect arch? I mean, this is important. So we have several ones. Here they are. They are massive concrete with a texture of bamboo and then epoxy color red on it. And at the moment we are building these icons in the garden. The rail detail, it's a very simple project. Okay. This was an introduction. Are there questions? It is, you know, you think it is not a lecture, but it is a lecture. But, you know, for me it is complex being jet-lagged, but to share a sort of, with you, you know, the hesitation, the irony, the humor, the imperfection. But it might become more clear afterwards when we are at the bar. Next. Okay, you're a quiet audience, by the way. We did a project in London. In London, in a sort of area which is terrace housing in the far west of London. It's a strange area, very, very much disconnected. But a subway station nearby, Chiswick. A very interesting client, Stanhope, which is a developing company who only works in London, mainly for offices. Commercial space led by Sir Stuart Lipton, a visionaire. He had an idea to build a business park, which was stunning because he put us, Richard Rogers, and like 4 or 5 completely sharp, young, bright, brilliant PR people in one room. And they came with the idea for him that the concept of this business park, because business parks are, you know, they are born in America and they are campus related, and then there is a golf course, and they were brought in England, and then from England they are all around in Europe. And Stanhope had the idea to start a new concept, which is beyond the business park, and these kids came with the idea, thank God it's Monday. So they made a sort of storyline like happy to work, this kind of unbelievable, direction the project went. And the concept was to make a sort of working environment which is mainly for rent, with all kind of facilities like a daycare. You could bring your dog over there. They do everything for you. They buy tickets, they book a flight. You have hotel facilities. You could have a secretary. So they had a sort of idea, come to this place, it's so nice to live, good food, Italian chef. We organize events every day during the seasons. We engage school classes. The thank God it's Monday concept really became, you wanted to be there. And the client, he was very stubborn to deliver the project in 1 year. So he had the idea. We design it. We make a PR concept. We sell it. We create a website. We build it, all the buildings with Richard Rogers, and the landscape and the layout by us. So we could think out of the box. And there was a very ecological storyline in the borough, because nobody liked a business park here, as you might understand. So the city had, in the previous years, made developers' life really difficult with a checklist on ecology, which is almost impossible. And part of that was also water problems to be solved on the site. That's why they called us, because we are Dutch and they think Dutch know a lot about water. So, and we keep that illusion alive, of course. So the idea here was to make a business park, which is more than business buildings and office buildings, but it's more a concept on individual demands. And as a sort of straightforward provocation to the client, we had in mind to make every front door on a public space 100% no compromise, no car, not even the director, the manager, no taxi dropper, nothing in front of the building. And so the building became as a matter of fact, as a design of Rogers, completely sterile and without sex, completely, neutral building, like Swiss German, Norman Foster Rogers, completely aluminum glass. That's it. Gray and silver are the color range, and they absorb identity from the landscape. Have I said it correctly? So the landscape triggers something, because the building doesn't say, the building is just a building. You could say, well, I'm in number 3, number 5, but that's it. So we had in mind to create a sort of soft inner area, which is both clever because it's the missing element of the sterile architecture. I'm not against that architecture at all, but it was more a fact over here. But it also was very easy to be understood by English, because it was soft and romantic. We had to deliver the garden, the park, the buildings, everything within 1 year. So there was not a sort of, let's say, 5 local community meetings. There was no possibility. It was, we had to. So I tell you, it's very, very banal. It was born almost in Victorian, Reptonian, Olmstedian romance. Okay, so the PR kids, they had access to sort of Rembrandt-like services of renderings. So what we sketched the day after was brought back like this. And our idea was that all of the water in the buildings and also on top of the building needed to be cleaned and collected and stored in 2 ponds. There was a high difference in this area, a higher and a lower pond. And we convinced the client to buy 2 train loads of Welsh stone to build a waterfall with an amplifier of the sound, with almost Vegas-like illumination at night. To make the waterfall, you cannot work there and not be on the waterfall. You understand what I mean? So it is a bombastic, grotesque confrontation with a waterfall, which is also very nice and romantic. But it has a sort of level of shamelessness. It is so. I was younger then, and this is a little over the top. We then designed the whole thing in cypresses, European cypresses. And of course, the English, they didn't buy that. The English, they love that every tree is different. So you have a tree like this, and a tree like that, this. So the trees need to be different. So you not always control the design. That's what I tell you. Yeah. So here we try to make. We ordered the client. We only buy vegetation with red blossom. You have to buy red water lilies. They're very rare because they are normally white. Magnolias, rhodos. They make everything red to make it warm. As a sort of anti-poison for the aluminum temples. And also to add, and that's why the cypresses were very clever, because in Europe they have a tendency to be a sort of evergreen. They are not, because if it's a cold winter they drop all the leaves, but so, and this is, the whole thing is built. We had to design 5 times a plaza. Finally, it was designed as a sport ground and realized. And here you see the sort of the approach of the marketing people. They had a yellow website and yellow billboards. Everything was yellow. Even the contractors, they worked in yellow cabins, and the whole operation sold itself. It was very interesting. So you see some of the cedars are there, but then in the middle you see beautifully, they lose the leaf, they're really nice. But due to English preoccupation, we had a sort of mix of trees which more or less makes the project a sort of like a shopping mall. You know, a shopping mall, you have some green and nice bench, a lamppost, and no identity, no character. And but it's still I think the idea is bright enough to survive this. We added pots in the area around the soft park with flowers, everything in black. A stone island, very romantic, with a pine and business people. Samsonite world here, dry rivers, and you see people start. This is very intriguing. This is a business park, but people do engage with the landscape. They sit outside. In England, this is remarkable because it's not Madrid. An over-the-top design of the bridge, but beautiful. And a mosaic effect of the timber. Here is the quarry at the west coast of the Welsh west coast, where we gathered the stone and built a waterfall to convince the client. So we built it twice and photographed it, numbered all the stone, and shipped them to London. And there it was rebuilt. It's not a bad idea. So this is now more beautiful because the stones are full of green and they are dirty and they have a sort of patina. So Yverdon, we did a competition for Yverdon. Switzerland organized a World Expo on 5 sites. One was on a lake, Lake Neuchâtel. No, Lake Yverdon, and near Neuchâtel, and we won that competition. Our site, which needed to have pavilions, had a concept that there was no architecture. So we said we built the entire exhibition from media and from landscape. And and this is on a sporting ground. It was also temporary. It needed to be dismantled. Could only stand for a year. So we built it with gravel and wood and timber. You know, most of the work was executed by the army, the Swiss army. And the concept was very easy. We made hills with flowers, like a sort of Dutch, deeper. You know, this is DNA. I cannot change that. And a cloud, like the paintings of the Dutch 17th century painters. They perform very well on designing, sculpting, painting clouds. So clouds, tulips. That's the Dutch landscape. And the question is, and this is an exercise: can you make a Dutch landscape in Switzerland? Actually, that was the whole story behind it. We won the competition, and then we asked Dilleske Video to design the cloud. They more or less, rewrite the history, but we ordered them to design a cloud. It's that simple. In the lake. It's a thick book. It doesn't tell this story, but so so this is the reality. So every cloud has a sort of scheme. Sorry, every hill has a scheme of flowers. And the interesting thing, when we started this project, we had in mind that only the women in our office design this park. So this park is a 100% women job. There's nobody from the other side involved in the... This is interesting because we were for many years researching, you know, how do we get from the brain into the more inner feelings, and as a sort of exercise, it was a competition, that's where competitions are nice for. We tried, you know, what will happen if half of our office designs a park. What is the outcome? This is the outcome. It was very helpful for us. And this is all about flowers and softscapes, and you know, it is beautifully executed, although it was temporary. In every hill there are pavilions hidden, and they are covered with a truck textile with the same print of flowers on top, built by military in wood. So here you see the hill with yellow and yellow pavilions. And this is the, let's say, the part of the master plan with the cloud. As an entrance to this site, this is the station of Yverdon. We built a bus stop. You see how we build it. So it's cheap wood, it's prefabricated, triangulated, and then because the storm will take it away, the loads are here to keep the whole thing stable. So we tried not to do architecture, but you always, there's also an interesting thing, then you get in a certain direction where it becomes very interesting, because if you have to avoid your own solution and think, no, this is architecture, how would you do it without architecture? This helps a lot to make a sort of, and of course, it's, you know, for competitions you can do these kind of things. So this is the station building, temporary, with a line of flowers bringing you to the site, geraniums, and then you arrive on the expo site. I do this quick, where a Swiss architect we collaborated with made one pavilion as architecture, because they didn't want to be in flower and they wanted architecture, but they did a good job, I think. And you see all the hills and the bombardment of flower. I do this very quick because otherwise you don't understand the effect. People were really engaged with flowers. I mean, there's the strange thing is that, like my grandmom, she likes flowers a lot. So if you do flowers, it's already okay. Seriously, there's another experiment. If you do a lot in flowers, the result is stunning. And a lot of, you know, our professionals, they do too much design, I think. So on the floor, this excavation of a tunnel nearby, we had two colors of stone, and we could fine and rough, and two colors. We could paint the entire floor as well. And you see the influence of the cloud. This is really the concept we had in mind, and it was wonderfully delivered by Dilliske Video. Amazing job. Imagine. Okay. Questions? Okay. Toronto. I didn't want Toronto, but Toronto is on the billboard, so I have to do it. Toronto is an unbelievable project. Where are we here? Toronto is the result of a competition for an identity for the waterfront, and actually the competition for this was also a reflection, but this is what I believe afterwards, on Chicago. So Chicago did a nice job, and Toronto is, you know, the other big city in the north. But Toronto has absolutely is totally differently wired. You know, Chicago is about the money, to bring real money, philanthropy, and Toronto it's a little bit like Denmark. You know, people are very friendly and really democratic, and nobody is in power. There's nobody in power. It's like a sort of everything can be brought, but nothing can be decided. And this is not bad, but this is Toronto, and this is completely different than Chicago. And they wanted the waterfront, and they of course had no idea what it could be. So there was an international competition, and so here you see how badly Toronto links to the downtown, to the waterfront. All docklands, the railroad, the belt, the Gardiner is express highway, elevated. And the Rogers Stadium sitting there with the CN Tower in a sort of moon landscape. Recently they built a lot of skyscrapers, condominiums. But the only clear message in the brief was sustainability, nature, clean water, safety. That's what this is really, you know, what for me is Denmark, you know, the sort of, the climax of our culture, you know. God created the planet in 5 days, and on the 6th day he created mankind. It's the climax, and then he was so happy, the 7th day he rested, because it was all done. And this euphoria, what do? We clean the water, with peace and harmony, reasonability, friendly, you know, this kind of, you know, it doesn't come. Do you understand what I mean? Now, as a designer, you know, I'm intrigued by this kind of, I'm after the imperfections, but also, you know, what make people tick and what is going on. And we did take, again, a sort of, you know, as an outsider, it is much simpler to see that, sort of, you know, if they want a waterfront, but they don't want a waterfront, what do we do then? You know, this is very complex. So we thought if we take their words and we do only their words and say, this is what you write and this is what you get, and it's exactly the same, it might be a sort of triggering. That's what we had in mind. I'm very serious in this. And imagine there was Norman Foster did 5 skyscrapers here, and I mean, you know, we could not lose the competition because everyone jumped in the lake. You know, with such an amazing Chicago-related fantasy or nightmare that you immediately understood the jury will not do that. So we were the only one. Our office teamed up with a local office, DITA. We were the only team who had not this sort of preoccupied waterfront. So this is very complicated. So in a certain way, this is Queensquay Boulevard. Is the closest to the lake you can get. This is I would call this is the Grand Canyon. I mean, this is a concrete, harsh wind. I mean, Toronto is really terrible. You know, it's always windy, and people cannot be outside. I mean, Danish, Norwegian, Russians, they are outside. The Torontonians are not outside. So, and there is no tree. There is a streetcar here over the concrete. It is like hell. If the tram passes by, you are really like on an airport. It's really noisy and it echoes. So it's cold, harsh, windy, shadow. I mean, there's only shadow in this street. Some of the buildings have a remarkable history. Here we see the bay. And we had in mind, if we now more or less, can we link Toronto to the water like the Canadians talk about their cottage. The Canadians here, So the Muskoka chair, the tires, the foreground tree. It's a very interesting thing. So we went there to see the landscape and to think about, you know, what is this clean water, peace and harmony? What is this? What is this? I had 2 days of canoe lessons, where this is very amazing. I'm a very good, you know, I'm a water boy. I'm from Holland. But, you know, if you kayak or canoe, then the boat goes always like this. And although I'm a very good sailor and I'm really, you know, I'm in every boat, I never, you know, you always, but you get wet through because all the time you switch and the boat goes like this. And she taught me a trick, is a very Canadian trick, where you rotate your hand, that the pedal steers, you know, you pedal and steers in one strike. Is it right or not? It's right. 2 days and I could do it. We went to the museum, Tom Thompson, the School of Seven. Amazing, you know, these guys, they went into the forest in the early 20th century and painted the landscape. And believe me or not, in every Canadian house, on the toilet, in every Canadian school, there are these calendars or pictures of the School of Seven. So they preoccupied the Canadians. So if you ask a Canadian, what is nature? This is nature. So the culture, you know, the understanding of nature, the perception, is framed by the artist. This is very logic, you know. Okay, amazing. You have to go see these paintings. It is really stunning what they did. I mean, in Europe, nobody knows these paintings. Look at this. This is a white pine. Tom Thompson painted this pine about 4 or 5 times, so you can see it in different years. We went to the archives. I mean, this is not so far from here, I believe. And we thought, is there a chance that we can link Toronto from this kind of logic, the Canadian logic, to the water? You might think that I'm very banal, bombastic guy, but this took a month to get closer to what Canadians are, you know, what they are. And we designed the waterfront, and we brought a sort of very simple trick. So we created like 4 or 5 laws for the water, not really designed. One is that all of the waterfront should be planted with trees which are big, huge, and that means they have a root space, which is never the case in Toronto, because there's only root space for like cherry trees or like a sort of reasonable, local community tree, instead of a Canadian tree. So we told the people, if you are serious with green and waterfront, we plant Canadian trees, maples, elms, poplars, big ones. We don't necessarily plant them big, but they grow big. And we don't do a little, we do a lot. We only use wood and granite. Let's make it wood and granite. So we have a foreground of trees. You're sheltered from the harsh wind and the sun and the heat in the summer, and timber. I mean, this is very Western, East Coast, Canadian, American. All the furniture, even the lamppost, in wood. And then we figured out, this was also remarkable, when we were there, because we went there often to understand Canadians. And in the bay there were always 2 boats with scientists, and they catching fish and measure them all day. They are just monitoring the habitat, and this is a pike. And you see, if a pike is this big, it means there is good clear water. Logic, because it's a predator. They need, they need clear water to catch the other fish. And so if the predator is okay, that is a very good. So we went with them on the boat for a day to understand underwater habitat. Look at the fish. And the restoration of the bay, which is a larger program, we took the restoration of the bay on board, and also and this is a sketch we made, a floating shallow water area, so a mesh with vegetation floating in the water to be seen by the people in the CN Tower. And our design, and we did what the competition brief was about. Was using the brief literally to create underwater habitat. So no American will do that. You have your precious tax money, you dump it in the water, you don't see it anymore. So to create artificial reefs and all kind of habitat in former docklands, which also help to stabilize quay walls. And the next step is that we thought we just add a little glamour on top of it, so people are understanding. They read that the investment in the water is there. And seriously, there was in the last years investment of 40 million Canadian dollar in clear water and habitat. Invisible. Invisible. The money is literally thrown in the water. So we create bridges and decks which start perform that there is something underneath. Here you see what we work together with ecologists from the university and from the local office. And the serious design, we did not do that, of the underwater world. And we made decks on top, pontoons. And the mayor, so we won the competition, and the mayor immediately ordered for a new idea to make the connectivity along the water over the quays and crossing the slips with bridges. So we designed wooden bridges. Is there a prototype wooden bridge? That's the question. We thought there is, so we made all our bridges different but equal in detailing. And so we more or less create an identity from ecology, timber, trees, granite. Of course, there is a reason to the pedal, but to add narrative, or the joint of the wood. So there is a lot of sympathy for design. It is not a dumb idea only, but we are trying to bring it on a level that people feel it from their inner, from inside, from their understanding, so there is, let's say, it is so natural and so common, but with a small twist, people understand and see it. Look at this bridge. Is this a beautiful bridge now? It's very simple, but the waste makes it really nice. So together with the end of the slip ends and the bridges, there is a sort of ballet which creates identity. In every slip, and there are about 12 of these, are different. And literally the city makes an address to the water with these bridges. We are, the most beautiful one is a Reese. We had in mind to change one of the docks into a kayak and canoe area for children and handicapped people. Because that's part of the Danish DNA. You design for handicapped people and for children. So you don't make a fantastic design, you make a design for handicapped people and children. And so we took that mindset, really like, this is the mindset, we're gonna do it like that. And they liked it. They really thought, this is our job, this is what we need, this is our identity. It was very interesting to have this dialogue. And they really felt, you know, a little bit manipulated as well, because we are outsiders and tell them what to do as Canadians, you know, which is very strange, like almost like a therapy. So one of the docks we changed into this is sort of softer landscape with the Queensquay Boulevard at the end, and we made the bridge as a beaver dam. And then they didn't buy it. They said, you know, bullshit, we don't do that. That's no-go. Well, we thought, you know, this is an unbelievable nice design. This is really, you know, you would give up all the bridges if you could afford this. So there, you know, we went too far. Okay, we distributed T-shirts with all the silhouettes of the slip ends. Portland, Reese, Spadina, Simcoe. So we did them differently. And had the idea to have a moonlight illumination on the waterfront and under the decks to create a sort of hell with red light. The red light was, again, Canada, no green light or blue light, no red light. I don't know. So there is this, you can laugh about it, but we are really exploring where is this, what is the Toronto thing? And we came really close, but sometimes, you know, they push back. But if you sum it up, it's not, it is actually what I said. So this is, this is what it was, the Queensquay Boulevard, a guardrail, it's a little bit highway. This is, you know, where you celebrate the water. And there we designed, this was the first one to deliver, Spadina. We had in mind, this is very complicated for us because in Europe you can easily do this, but in North America you can be sued if somebody falls. So we made a design in which the whole deck would be fenced off with a chain in winter, and that's what they actually do. And everything is designed to code. So it is exactly on the edge of the code. But people don't understand how this can be done. But it's very interesting. And the funny thing is, these decks are so normal. Canadians immediately recognize and they love it. And they, you know, it's like a magnet. People walk over Queensquay and then they do not pass without, you know, stepping on the decks. The decks are every day full of people. It is amazing. They become. There are 3 built now. Immediately talk of the town. The mayor drills every deck the last hole. Mayor Miller, amazing, amazing person. Unfortunately, he resigns this year. And the decks, you know, one deck is, you know, Simcoe, which is a festival area in the heart of the waterfront. Is totally out of logic, and everyone wants to be there. And although you see that the waves are fenced off, people step over it and be there. So it's an amphitheater. There's a boat lounge at Reese, and the blue light instead of the red. The benches. I go through this. This is illumination. Then the climax of the waterfront will be Parliament. You have to remember this word, Parliament. Parliament is in the far east, East Bayfront. There will be an amazing investment program for stormwater clearance. So the stormwater will be in tanks, buffered, and then it settles, and after treatment is with UV, sunlight, and artificial UV. We had in mind to make this tank in the dock, in the slip, with a timber cover, And the timber more or less sells the idea of a sort of organic shaped, almost primitive one cell creature, polyps, underwater world, you know, this kind of fantasy. And this will be built as well. So we built one deck which is larger. Now the mayor, he's always opening. Here you see the master plan painted on a tram. It drives through the city. You know, these kind of, if you are in Canada and you have a master plan and you bring it on the public transport, super good idea. Immediately, you know, people buy it and no, this is what we're waiting for, and we always do it like this. So everything had to be, every idea had to be decoded into a sort of the world of reasonability. You know, the Toronto Canadian mindset, which is, you know, very interesting for ourselves, you know, to think about what makes a design, and you know how the design is not, you know, some people believe that designers are the sort of mediators, that they have the inspiration of God and they are distributing this to other people, you know, like Picasso's. And I really don't think it is like that. I think it is, you know, you have a sort of shared vision, if you are lucky, and you work in teams, and all kind of strange, you know, emotions enter the game, and you have you will be pushed back. And if you are after the imperfections and the random ideas and the uncertainties, there's a lot of gifts which could bring amazing designs. So in the budget of the mayor likes public transport, the mayor likes handicapped people, the mayor likes children, the mayor likes bike advocates. Of course. We thought the budget for installation, if we do the design as an installation. So we take, because nobody ever in Canada believes that Queen's Quay can be without cars. I mean, Torontonians give up a street, so no cars access, that is impossible. So we told the mayor, why don't you build an installation for 10 days to demonstrate that the Queen's Quay Boulevard could be 50% cars and 50% bicycles and pedestrian. Great idea. That's a good idea. So he, and I mean, this guy is so smart. He changed, of course, the logic in a sort of political way, but we did it together, the project. So here you see, for 10 days, Queen's Quay Boulevard was, all the traffic from the south lanes was gone. On every section there was a police officer for 10 days, telling the people what to do and not to do, paid by the mayor, and from the installation budget we built a design. And for 10 days, all people from far, let's say, suburban neighborhoods, they came with their children, the family, they brought a family in the weekend, biking on Queen's Quay Boulevard. So we had a piece of grass and a piece of geraniums. It's what my grandmother likes, so geranium grass, not too complex. And this was, and the interesting thing, the Toronto Star is, with their head office, is on this trip. So we had every day front page articles and photographs. And the idea was to organize a bike event and also a festival for children to, to dress strange and to pimp your bike. And with the police department, it's good in Toronto, it's reasonable, that's what we like. We went for the stolen bicycles. And all the stolen bicycles of Toronto, and of course the mayor, he was more shameless than us. He made a campaign immediately, yeah, we need better bike racks, and I think people hate the idea that their bikes are stolen so easily in Toronto. So we made a sort of Arc de Triomphe with stolen bicycles, where you could really like the Brandenburger Tor, you know, when the German military walk through the Brandenburger Tor. this gate make you really proud and strong. And so if you're a biker and you go through this gate of stolen bicycles, look, the people, they all laugh. They are really like heroes. And so for 10 days, so here is the Speaker of the House, the Parliament. She also came, of course, with flowers on the steer. For 10 days, we made Queen's Quay like it would be in the future. Okay. And today we are busy with the Canadian granite. Okay. What time is it? Are we... It's getting warmer here. Do we stop? I can... Let me see. Madrid. I do a very quick project. Madrid. Madrid is a project in the Latin world. In Madrid there is a mayor, he is called Gallardón. Gallardón, he is a mayor of Parti Popular. That's a sort of right Catholic, conservative, half military, Parti Popular. Aznar, who blamed the ETA for the attack in Madrid. I mean, this kind of, you can understand Spanish if you understand their history. And Gallardón is the mayor of Madrid, and he will be the next prime minister, because that's like in France. You have, this is like the Pope is in the middle of. He is representing God, Petrus. Like Gallardón is like that. Napoleon. Gallardón, he was kicked out from his party. They didn't like him anymore, maybe because he was too strong. And Gallardón is a very intelligent guy. He speaks 7 languages. He's reading poetry. He is from the old aristocracy with all kind of good behaviors and heritage. So he's a really interesting person. So he had the idea, I will nominate myself for being the next mayor, although my party don't like me anymore. And I win from my party, which is very... So he had to battle against the Social Democrats and against his own party. And what do you do in the Latin world? If you battle in that, you create a big infrastructure project. It's totally un-Torontonian, but that's the logic in Madrid. And Gallardón, he decided himself to make 23 kilometer. How many miles is that? 18 miles of highway tunnel in one period, in one administration, in 4 years. And of course, to win the next time, you had to deliver in 3 years, because the last year you have to sell, look, I built a tunnel. And this is Gallardón. So he decided, and this is 5 times the Big Dick in Boston, imagine. This is 5 times. And he decided. And his friend, his best friend is a contractor, got a job. And the logic is they understand each other. So Gallardón knows they deliver, and there will be no bullshit about, we need more money, or, the planning failed. So there is a logic. And they built so many tunnels, they could not even design the tunnels. So when they built inside, the tunnels miss each other. Calculations had not been done, the roof of the tunnel collapsed in many places. One of the tunnels was stuck in the foundation of a medieval bridge. They tunneled, and they had to, pull back and make a new tunnel. This is no joke. This is what they did. And in 3 years, 23 kilometers of tunnel was finished. Then the Social Democrats, they campaigned against Gallardón. They say, look at the Gallardón. He, of course, he won the first election. He's spending all the tax money. And look how Madrid is now. It is a mess. It is a terrible, terrible construction site. It is all concrete, is terrible. So Gallardón, after 3 years of delivering the tunnel, he decided, I will build Madrid over the tunnel for the next 4 years. Another big prestigious project. And that was a competition, and we won that competition. So the highways were built. This is the old, so you see the Royal Palace, this is the river, it's really downtown Madrid, and on both sides of the river are 2 highways with all the crossings. Look at, this is unbelievable. Huh? This is, for Europe, this is a North American. You not often see this in Europe. This is the Avenida Portugal. This is a highway, 6 lanes, which is facing the Royal Palace, uphill going to Lisbon. It's a very old road. And it is all, you see they built a tunnel here under construction. And the tunnel is 2 layers and a boulevard on top. So we designed the master plan, and we had to deliver in 4 years after the competition, so again 1 year before the next election. All of the landscape, all of the city need to be stitched. That was the project. Unfortunately, we won the competition. We had to start an office with 22 people in Madrid. There's no way that a guy from Holland will ever understand Spain or Madrid. No chance. So it is very complex to navigate the project through bureaucracies, patrimonium, the mayor's office. But the only really interesting thing here is that Gallardón wants to deliver. So everyone who stands in his road. So as designers, we needed also a philosophy that we need to deliver designs and detailing which could be immediately understood by this contractor and then brought there. The funny thing is about contracting, I tell this because a lot of students don't know these stories, because not often is it told like that. In the crisis, which is now for 1.5 years in Spain really severe, there is a new law, a national law by Zapatero, that all infrastructure projects by authorities, paid by tax money, should be brought on the market, tendered as small packages with local contractors and, let's say, delivered in half year. So they need a guarantee that the money spent immediately produce labor. If you cannot prove that you produce labor, you cannot spend the money, and so there is no funding. So this contractor had to distribute all of the work over 200 contractors. So our office is now delivering designs for 200 contractors who don't read drawings, they don't work together. There is nobody on the planet who could ever manage 200 contractors working in one project. No chance. And they all work with subcontractors as well. Because one is putting tree, the concrete and tarmac, building a installation. It's unbelievable. So this is a circus. We are really in a circus here. And it is great. I tell you, it's great. Because the contractors, they deliver, let's say, 10 meters a day. So the logic is they tell our office, you have to, Monday we need this and that, because then we are, and then we are 10 meters further. So we really, and we cannot make that with 22 people. We cannot do it. So we're running after the work. And so our design is getting every day more simple and simple. Seriously, but they deliver. They deliver. So this is Avenida Portugal, a tunnel. We took Portuguese people to deliver the project here, subcontractor, and they make a Portuguese stone job beautiful mosaics. And the boulevard is about 5 miles of bench seating elements, because Spanish people, they sit outside. Stones fresh from Portugal, and here this is how they see how easy they make mosaics. Somebody draw in the sand, and somebody else make the outlines, and then they fill it. It's very simple, and this is the result. And exactly, this is the first project. Exactly in time, here Gallardón is. You see him, this Gallardón. He's crowd surfing here. Sorry, Gallardón in the middle. He is taking his cell phone, and he gives a speech in front of the Royal Palace, because. When we started the project, we were ordered to do May 22 a photograph. There is the Royal Palace, and the boulevard need to be here, and then Gallardón was there. So we got a drawing with a sort of storyboard. This is how we're gonna record Gallardón, and there was nobody in the municipal authorities. I'm very proud here with my Carlos, the guy who runs the office in Madrid. The ventilation shafts, they were not to be designed, they were already there. So we cladded them with ceramics. You see the entrance of the tunnel, the top layer. And the next project was the park. 1 year later, same story, Gallardón needed to be photographed in front of the Royal Palace. So all the projects which were in the area of the Royal Palace need to go first, just because of the backdrop picture. We were designing, this was a massive tree planting strategy. You see, we made 10 species and we almost hammered them in the ground with an existing stream, which is most of the time a dry river, meandering through. We had no time to think about a new design. We just, it was deliver the design and buy the trees, and we had to buy trees all over Europe. And this is another of our colleagues. And we made the design more specific due to the fact that the way they were planted. That was, I think, a very strong impression. The stream ends in a grotto. It's all on tunnels, so you cannot easily do a job, because always there is 1 meter, half a meter, 1.5 meter tunnels, highways underneath. This is a bridge. You see Gallardón walking there, and there he opens in front of the river. Is no water in the river due to the construction, so he is facing now the Royal Palace, and there is, you see the palace. The fence design, zigzag. The third project, the year after, was the Salón de Pinos. This is the highway along the river with a pine forest on top. We tried to buy pines from the mountains, which were normally the nurseries they throw away these pines because they are not straight. So they are, let's say, the dancing pines, and we designed from a sort of logic of bullfight weapons, a supporter in cast steel, really sexy, I believe. And it's supporting all the trees. And then from Italy, Holland, Denmark, Spain, France, pines are planted. Most of them are not straight planted, so they are already, falling apart on top of a tunnel. And Salón de Pinos is already in place. And immediately there is a massive attack of people at. The Spanish people, they parade and they show off. It's very popular. It's very simple design. Then now we are starting at the point of the Toledo Bridge. This is a 13th century bridge. To make a parterre on the river. You see how many highways and things are here. They will all be in tunnels, and we will design this. We restored an old bridge near the palace. We built a pedestrian bridge of the remains of an old highway bridge, you see. It just saved it from being demolished. Here you see the bridge with Salon de Pinos walking over the bridge. And this is such a good project. And then we design 5 concrete bridges which are equal, so they fit in the budget, and they stand the logic of the aggressive tendering procedure. So we designed a bridge which is inspired by a whale, which is very fat and heavy. Architects hate that. So the bridge is concrete and bold, and it will be black and dirty and imperfect. And this shell, which is 50 meters over the river, it's pedestrian bridges, this shell inside is gold. It glooms like a pharaoh. Can you imagine? So it is very sentimental, but there is a sort of it has a sort of good vibe. And so this bridge, we were it could not be built, but we pushed, and finally they found someone who could do it for the prize. We had in mind these bridges are prefabricated in 6 pieces, but the contractor who builds it works only with North African labor, and he didn't want to prefabricate it, so he built it in situ, and the whole design was, had the logic of prefabrication and then repeating. This is, we are really in a sort of complex world that you have genius ideas and it is completely going the other direction. But that doesn't matter. You carry on. So you see, we were telling them, because they built it with craftsmanship, they built it, the molds were perfect. They are so nice, so beautiful, so that our idea of boldness and brutality and nails in the wood and planks who flip, is completely not built, because the carpenters, they hate to do a lousy job. So that's another thing we learned. You have a lot of ideas, but it doesn't work. And then the last problem we were this whole idea was sold to Galladon, because we went to the curator of Prado Museum and asked him to select artists and to go with these artists to Galladon, and they like each other, and then they said, yeah, this is my project. So the Galladon ordered for the bridges, and Prado did curate the artist. So you see the bridge design is evolving. Here you see the 6 shells, which is not built, and 400-500 wires. Well, we have approximately 200 at the end. So the distance between the wires is too large, so we had to design a rail, unfortunately. And we were busy for about 4 months to design a rail, which is now extremely hysterically designed, super slick. This is really like, you cannot understand how it's almost like a Porsche, Every curve is so in cast aluminum. Look at this. Isn't that great? So the finish, and then the bridge is built in the river. So they built a scaffolding and built a bridge without deck. Amazing job. And then this is when they lift up. You see the concrete comes out pretty regular. Normally they have to fill the whole mold in once, because they cannot stop working. They work also at night. Spectacular project. And here you see the bridge born. What interesting thing is that people start also walking over the bridge. And that was also on purpose. purpose, we had the idea that this bridge is a sort of, it communicates, it has a dialogue with people, and you want to do these kind of things. I go quick here. We are here solving details of which could not be controlled by the contractors with aluminum elements. And the bridges are now, this is what they are today. So they are finishing the job. They're putting the rails. So the filling points for the concrete, we designed gabali, it's wild pigs. So all the filling points are, and then the artist, he hated gold. He said gold is no way. So, and he was selected by the director of Prado. So I could not, get him from the job. So we work with him, and the final result is a sort of fresco. He wanted to do this with photographs on aluminum, so we pushed him in the direction of tiles, because it's much more Spanish and it lasts forever. And now people, monks, they make these pictures with pin sets. Isn't this a great job? And this is what, if you go to Madrid, you should pass by. Of course, this is very dirty, but it will be really bright. But you see, the blue is not enough in contrast with the rough concrete, I believe. Yeah, who am I? Okay. I stop now with a project in America, which is Miami. We are happy to work for the New World Symphony, which is an organization. It's actually a music school for musicians. And they, with a private fund, the best of what Americans are after, they ordered Frank Gehry to build a new school. It's a school of about $200 million. Beautiful design. It's one of the best Frank Gehry ever made. There's a box, really a shoe box, and inside it is Bilbao. So it is a sort of totally different Frank Gehry building. It is a boys' building outside and a feminine building inside. It's remarkable. And the building is this is the atrium. So we were looking for a sort of mosaic quality, because the park is very small, it's 2 acres, and the client team and the city think that it's a park where you play frisbee and picnic and events, but it is more garden scale. So we had a lot of problems. We were fantasizing about, for the first time, I could work in the tropics, vegetation. And the city demanded a hurricane-resistant park. So, which means that we can only plant vichias, which is a sort of palm tree which can stand every wind. And we work together with Fairchild Botanic Gardens to select these plants. Actually, I'm very happy, because now we have a project. Vichia is a very thin tree which has like a Washingtonian, like a but not so high, and it has very elegant, imperfect trunks. And we believe that by planting about 200-300, there will be a veil, so an effect like this. So if you walk through the park, you will see the building in a different way. The biggest money is spent on a world-class projection equipment. So the building is a huge projection screen. And the performances inside, plus all kind of artistic movies, will be all year on the facade. We designed a mosaic floor with patterns, and in the patterns with the joints, a new level of mosaic quality. Rock salted concrete, very cheap, but really the effect of patina. And we plant as much as we can, so we get shade. But we have to make a sort of clear voids, a few lines for the screen. So here you see, the topography, the undulating topography even creates a stronger illusion of park, and benches will be integrated in this topography. I go through this. Shade, fichas. Let's try. So the park will be shading mainly. Shading. People in Miami, they are really craving for shadow, and that will make in the heart of Miami Beach, close to also Art Basel and Lincoln Road, which is one of the most successful public spaces. We'll stitch a sort of new urban tissue. The shade also was demanded by shading structure, so we designed pergolas. We did really a journey what could be nice pergolas. And we finally, with Bougainville, we finally created sort of baskets which work together with arches, so strong that with a little material we can stand the hurricane. And this is the outcome. They are more like clouds. So they are about 20 feet high. And everyone loved them. So we expected a sort of big problems because it was over designed. And it could only be argued as design. But people liked them. But then we were heavily criticized in the press also that they could be possibly climbable. So we designed all kind of solutions to make them not climbable. This is, for example, with rollers. With the bars, they roll. So if you climb... not accepted. This is with thorns. I mean, imagine this is a pergola completely filled with bougainville. You know, if you put your hand in a bougainville, you're completely, bloody. This is aggressive vegetation. American law system is very complex for us. It's alien. So we had a sort of fences, as you see, sort of banana peeling effect. I quite liked it, and they hated it. Then we made a solution with a bench, a fat column underneath. But the problem, you understand this, if you take out the verticals, the horizontal, the thing will collapse. The construction engineer go wild. This is impossible. So we finally introduced the diagonals. It was a long search. And by beefing them up, we could make them more organic. You see, this is more engineered, this is more organic. No? Okay, this is where we are now. Tomorrow I have to defend it in the design review board, and then we get permission or not. So all the documents are there. This is the building, huge facade. It's gigantic, and the screen had been tested one night. Outdoor events, and very complex. We worked with the best acoustic engineers in America, because Michael Tilson Thomas, the director of the school, he is about music. So the quality of sound need to be super, beyond what you and I can ever distinguish. And this is what it looks like. And so they wanted to steal our park. And these guys are base woofers. This big. 15 is 30 feet high. So like a carcass of a whale. And so with a lot of, we even had people in the team who work for Disney, which are professional installation hiders. So because in Disney you cannot see installation. You don't see it, but it's all there: speakers, cameras, illumination. There's a profession in Florida of people who hide installation. And seriously, they did such a great job. They finally designed a bar, a sort of neutral architectural element which can stand a storm and protect and all the installations are in there. And now the last thing to tackle is the projection tower, which grows and grows because the beamers are so massive. So we start to wrap the pergola-related detail around projection tower. Okay, I stop here. So you see, you enter the park under the bougainville, and then you have the veil effect towards the building. Of course, the reality is nicer. This is testing in computer the effect of veil and the density of trees. Bum. Okay, there's another one. Is this the repetition? I don't know. No, this is another one. You see the edges, beautiful, eh? So imagine the paths are white, the grass is green, so the patchwork, the mosaic quality is really there, but not visible in the drawing. The entrance of the building. Okay. What's landscape architecture about, actually, is the question. The funny thing is that I was asked to write an essay, 2 pages, for the Harvard Design School magazine about this question, and I believe that landscape architecture is very much culturally related. So, for example, because people, Homo sapiens, is very strong rooted in nature, and you cannot ignore that. We are monkeys, can't help, and we have 40,000 years of evolution in our cells. And the strange thing is that this occupation with nature, how you understand nature, is very much culturally made. So Japanese, they totally distinguish themselves how they see nature from English people, for example, or French, like Dutch. So I think the problem with landscape is different than architecture. Landscape architecture is very much a cultural thing. It is a mentality. What I explained about Toronto, for example, I think part of Canadian understanding of nature is that there is a sort of idea, that there is a sort of mighty nature which was painted in the 20th century, and that's what they think is nature. Close to wilderness, temperate wilderness. Americans think about wilderness. Dutch, they create nature. Germans, they don't touch nature because nature is holy, like for the British. So it's very complex to distinguish a sort of identity for landscape architecture due to this. For me, as a Dutch, a landscape is to be made. So it's here in your fingers, you can make it, which is very Dutch. So it brings me, we had a sort of, our early designs were some were received crits, like we were fantastic and so out of the box, and I was astonished because for me it was very Dutch. So I thought, we just do what we always do. This is not contemporary or whatever. We brought nature and landscape from a sort of Dutch perspective. And in America, this was seen as avant-garde. I thought it was more farmer-related. Seriously. So this is funny thing about landscape architecture. Yeah.
I'm really interested in the Toronto project, and you started to talk about narrative. In the Toronto project, it seemed in that case the narrative was these cultural attributes or our perception of nature. Are there other projects where a place's cultural identity is that strong that you can identify those attributes to use them as the sort of narrative in your design?
Yes, sometimes you can do that. Is that a good answer?
There are other projects where that it's easy to pull out the kind of you know, these sort of cultural attributes of Canadians? I mean, can you say 8 things about Americans
Watch
that
it,
you could
George.
identify?
I'm Canadian, so
I think I went really far. Of course, this a lecture is also a performance, so you underline a little. Things are more subtle in reality. But the Toronto project is a good example of really a research together with Canadians for a thing nobody could answer, you know, what it was or what to bring. But step by step, we're getting somewhere. But this could only be born from a crossover, cultural crossover. It's not alien and it's not Canadian. It's a sort of both things are in this project. But it very much satisfies the people. So it is different like Chicago. You can buy people's heart with beautiful art, impressive installations. Anish Kapoor, you know, everyone loves it. And it engaged children, everyone. And the Torontonian project is, you know, it's from a totally other angle, and it does give the same identity for people. They identify with it. I think this is amazing. We could not have foreseen this. Yeah.
Some of the earlier work, like Schiphol and the islands, the shells, you know, dealt with a little bit ecological scenarios, kind of ecological promiscuity. Are there any sort of new projects where you're dealing with, you know, fertility and those issues?
Yeah, we even just finished the project with William McDonough. So I was really in a hardcore cradle environment. A huge housing project of Amsterdam, extension in the lake. No, I think these things are interesting. I didn't show them today. Sorry.
I think because we have a reception, people can ask questions and continue afterwards. So we'll take it to the center gallery.
Thank you very much.